Good morning, all. Welcome to Pathak Gala College of Commerce and Management. In our lecture today, we are going to study communication skills. In communication part, we should first try to analyze what is communication. What is communication? In fact, we can see that the word communication has been derived from a Latin word called as communicare. It has been derived from a Latin word called as communicare, which means to share. So, in simple terms, I can say communication is sharing of information between two or more individuals or within the group to reach a common understanding. So, very simple that communication means sharing of information. So here we will first try to analyze that what are the factors which affects communication. What are the factors which affects communication? The very first factor which affects communication is language. I tell you, language, if we are communicating in the language which is not understood by the people, unfamiliar language, or we can say incorrect words, then language can act as a barrier to communicate. Another important factor which influences communication is visual perception. Perception बोल दिया मतलब belief, idea. तो we sometimes judge people by our situation by the way they look. For example, if a man is wearing torn clothes, फटा हुआ कपड़ा पहना है, we consider him as poor, which is a perception, just an imagination or idea in our mind. It may not be correct every time. Past experience. See how you were handled the situation in the earlier part. From that, you can have communication in the current part. For example, if some shopkeeper might have cheated you last time, then before going to his shop now, you will always say, let me be careful ना, इसने मुझको last time cheat किया था, let me be careful. So past experience also influences communication. Feelings. Our feelings and emotion, such as lack of interest, not trusting another person, will affect communication. As I say, for example, you may have some of your friend, one of your friend whom you trust the most. आप उसके साथ सारे सीक्रेट्स शेयर करोगे. You will communicate your secrets with that friend. The next factor influences is environment. Environment बोल दिया मतलब surroundings. तो जैसे noise or disturbances in the surrounding may make communication difficult. For example, मैं अभी आपके लिए lecture बना रहा हूँ, and suppose if there is a huge what we can say sound playing near about, I will not be able to record or I will not be able to provide lectures to you. So noise or disturbance in the surrounding may affect the communication. And last but not the least, culture. Like in the cultural aspects, if we observe, signs have different meanings. As I say, if you are into the cities a region and if you are showing a thumb, that means good job, or we can say best of luck and all those things. But if it is purely into very rural area, अगर आप किसी को वहाँ पे if you just show a thumb, they will say, they will get irritated. मैं अच्छा काम करने जा रहा हूँ, ठेंगा बता रहा है. So cultural differences also influences communication. I say if we further take up the list, then the list goes on long, but we will restrict factors influencing communication only up to this part. Now we go ahead towards one of the most important part of communication, that is essentials of effective communication. Now, whenever you are going to have effective communication with the people, you need to consider some factors in mind, which are highly essential for effective communication. So the question is, what are those factors? What are those points? As all those points starts with C, they are called 7 C's of effective communication. So of that, the first one we have is clear, or some people also call it as clarity. Now, in fact, we can see that you should be clear what you want to say, what you want to write. मतलब क्या है कि आप अगर क्लैरिटी अचीव करना चाहते हो, you should choose small words which can be understood by all the people. Okay. You should always use familiar and easy words. Generally क्या हो जाता है, if you can if you are using some higher end language which may not be understood by the people, then your communication will be useless. So there should be clarity. आप जो कहना चाहते हो, be clear and explain it clearly into the communication. Then the second most important part is concise, or some people also call it as conciseness. Conciseness. I should tell you, what does this point say? That use simple words and say only what is needed. That means, आपका letter या आपका communication should be to the point. To the point. Keep it as short as possible. No doubt. Short होना जरूरी है, but it should provide the complete information, which is very important. It should provide a complete information to the people. The next important essential we have is concrete, or some people also call it as concreteness. It says that use exact words or phrases, use facts and figures. That means the message what you are writing or what you are communicating should be specific, not a general message or not a general communication. In fact, you should use those words which make message clear, but that message should be based on facts and figures. And it should be drafted in such a way that it should not be misinterpreted by any person. The next one we have is correct, or people call it as correctness. Correctness. Here it says use correct spellings, languages, and grammar. Proper grammar, proper punctuations, and proper spellings are an integral part of business communication. अगर प्रॉपर ग्रामर नहीं रहेगा, प्रॉपर स्पेलिंग्स नहीं रहेगा, then definitely it will influence effective communication. In fact, what happens, if improper punctuations are used or improper spellings are used, the meaning and the soul of communication will get affected. So there should be correctness. Three things should be correct: spellings, language, and grammar. The next one we have is consideration. What does that mean? It means that you should keep in mind the interest of the receiver of the message. You should write the letter from receiver's point of view. Receiver's point of view. You write the letter as if you are the receiver, and what explanation as a receiver you would require. Try to cover all those information into that communication. Then the next C we have is completeness or complete. The letter should be complete with every aspect. The communication should be complete with every aspect. It should cover all the facts related to the point of discussion. Like you should always try to answer the questions like who, what, when, where, why, and so on. The letter should be complete or the communication should be complete in all respect. It should answer all the possible queries. And when it answers all the queries, it automatically becomes self-persuasive. It becomes self-persuasion. That is, it should give all the required information. And last but not the least, the last C of effective business communication is courteous or courtesy. What does that mean? When I say something about courtesy, it simply means that be respectful, friendly, and honest. Be respectful, friendly, and honest. That means you should never come across, while you are communicating, you should never come across as rude or offensive. Rude or offensive नहीं होना है. While you are communicating, don't communicate gender specific language or use. Yeah, I can say in simple terms, I can say courtesy does not mean only politeness, but you should use proper words to reflect your politeness. You should show respect to the receiver of the message. So this is about 7 C's of effective communication. The other part of communication we will discuss in the other video lecture. Thanks for watching.